Hi, I'm Amber Young,
And I'm Barbara Phillips.
and this is
Let's
Let's Talk
talk
EVM.
EVM. We love that so much.
Welcome, 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 everyone. I am bubbling over. You are so lucky. We are so lucky. But before we get started, I will start with our disclaimer. And the disclaimer is said for Barbara and myself.
Yes.
And the disclaimer is that all of the views that are expressed on this podcast are our own, and they are not the views of the United States government. So with that,
Perfect.
thank you. I'm going to jump right in. Barbara, I'm going to let you introduce our
I
guest.
know. I've been thinking all day, actually, we are really liberal with the use celebrity guest,
I know.
but this is like, I'm going to use the word famous.
Mm,
I'm going to use the word famous.
hmm
We have a famous guest today. It is, look, he's sitting very proud, but it is, well, we all know him as Mike, astronaut, NASA astronaut Mike Fincke, that Amber and I met, I want to say about 2 months ago now. And he stayed all day at the conference we were at, which we will talk about at length here. But I've never been to a conference where the plenary speaker hung out all day and let people talk shop with him. He's so generous, such an excellent and appreciated public servant. So with that,
And
should we call you Astronaut Fincke the whole time, or can we go with Mike?
Mike would be great.
Okay.
wonderful. With that, Mike, would you please give us a little intro to yourself as you see fit?
Yes. Hello, everybody out there in podcast land. It's really cool to be on a podcast because I listen to a lot of them. This is a great podcast, and I'm really thrilled to be here. And I'll share why, because I didn't start out as an astronaut. I've been an astronaut for 30 years, flew on the Soyuz twice, flew on the Space Shuttle once, flew on Crew Dragon. Earlier this year, I was up in space. I helped build an international space station, 549 days in space, 9 spacewalks. That's all really cool. But you know what? I didn't start that way. I started as an acquisition officer in the Air Force, like one of my very first jobs. And
Wow.
I learned about earned value management back then. And it was from that and program and project management, those skills, I took them with me when I got into test pilot school and became a developmental flight test engineer. And what that means is we still had to, we were still part of the acquisition process. We were still part of the team, and everybody on, it had to be all hands on deck for a major acquisition. And so we had to know EVM then. So when I had a chance, after doing my flight test gig, I got picked up by NASA. I helped NASA with things, but I'm not sure we, at least in the astronaut office level, we're not developmental engineers or anything. We don't really talk EVM. I know lots of NASA does. And, Barbara, I think you've been helping us a lot with,
Yeah. Thank you.
and
Yes.
Amber, you've been helping the Department of Energy. These are very good things. So when I had a chance to get back with my peeps and talk about earned value and how it's and bring in some of the experience I have, I'm building situational awareness inside the cockpit of an airplane, or inside the cockpit of a spacecraft, or inside the cockpit of the mind of a program manager. Having that ability to have that situational awareness, it was a joy to talk about. And so glad to be here today. Cheers.
Cheers. Wow.
Mega
You're-
expanding cheers. Yes.
Yeah, I know. You're like, okay, wow. Are we done? I mean, wow.
No, we're just starting.
All right.
Oh,
So, Mike, let's just tell everybody where Amber and I got a chance to meet you. We were at the Empower Users Group, which is in Florida in May. And Empower is, of course, the Encore Analytics tool. And Gary Troop is the president of that company. And Brooke Braswell is his daughter. And they all, it's a whole family thing there. And but you know Gary from your Air Force days.
Yes, he was the one who came in along with that Humphreys fella
Okay.
to share earned value management for our program, which was a satellite observation platform that was going to look for enemy kind of missiles and launches and things like that. So it's today grew and morphed and became today it's called Space-Based Infrared System, SIBRs, but we were the proto-SIBRs. And there's a lot of new things happening in the early 1990s, and earned value management really was starting. So it was really nice to see Gary Troop again, and Gary Humphreys and the rest of the team when we first started working on this on a major government acquisition program. It was really neat to see how much the software has come, how far the software has come, as well as
Yeah.
the community out there that's finding value in earned value management, including NASA.
Including NASA. Mike, so at that plenary, you drew like your title of your talk was going from EVM. No, was it going from EVA to EVM? Yeah, I think it was. I think I have it reversed in my notes. It was going from EVA, which tell everybody what that is when we turn the question over to you, to EVM. Or situational awareness is everything. So can you tell us how you connected those dots and made that analogy with that extremely excellent talk title?
Well, thank you. So EVA is extravehicular activity. It's a spacewalk, and that is one of the toughest things that astronauts are called on to do. Not every astronaut gets a chance to do a spacewalk. So I was very lucky to get in several, both in the American suit and the Russian suit. When you are doing a spacewalk, you need to pay attention to the world around you. And literally, if you want to look at it one way, the world around you is planet Earth.
He's looking down for those of you who are only listening.
It's really amazing to be outside of a space station and walking with your hands from one handrail to another and going at 17,500 miles an hour. It's dangerous. They're counting on us. We have a limited time. We only have a certain amount of oxygen to breathe and a certain amount of carbon dioxide removal system, a certain amount of energy in our batteries. So we really have to pay attention to what we're doing, pay attention to the world around us. And that's situational awareness. The same thing though, it's when you're EVM, that's also building situational awareness so that the program manager and the rest of the team can really pay attention to how the program's going, where are the things that need to be worked on, where are the things that are going well, and having that situational awareness is equally vital. It may not be life and death like EVA is, but it's certainly extremely important. And sometimes there's like billions of dollars on the line.
Yeah.
This is, and we all take it very seriously, especially when it's public money. So that's why EVM is super valuable and important, and tracking the scope, schedule, cost, risk. I think one of the things we talked about is one of the things we worry about when we're doing spacewalks and EVA is that we could drift away from the space station. Now, of course, we have a couple safety tethers to hold us down, things like that. But the same thing with EVM. You don't want to drift away from the reality of the program, and having the truth available, helping make that truth so that smart decisions can be made is super important.
I'm going to jump in with a question that circles around data. I often go in the data land. So with that situational awareness, imagining you outside of the spacecraft in space, literally hanging on, but in any of those environments that you've been in that are extremely intense, you have a lot of data available to you. How do you sift through, or any recommendations on when you have a lot of data? Because that's what EVM also gives you, a lot of data points. But how do you cut through and see what's most critical? Or how does situational awareness influence how you really look at the data?
Yeah, that's the art of the science, and everybody has a slightly different look at it. But the same kind of thing when we build a aircraft cockpit or a spacecraft cockpit, and I was lucky to be on the team that helped the Dragon, SpaceX's Dragon, build the displays so that we understand what all the data that are coming in, what are the most important, how do you build that situational awareness? And that's definitely an art. There's a lot of people that on the Boeing jets or Airbus jets that we fly back and forth all the time, those cockpits are really incredibly thought out so that the pilots can handle all the data coming in and to be able to do the right thing. And so that's the same thing that EVM does, and various software platforms, is that you can build it so that you get the data that you want. And I don't say ignore the other data, but there's some that are important and some that aren't, and they all build on each other. And so building up that situational awareness, or having that cockpit or dashboard
Mhm.
on built the way that makes sense to you, and checking it off. And I think that's really a powerful tool. And we didn't have that in the 1990s,
Yeah.
when we first started out. And now we live in an age of wonders, and with the disciplined teams that feed the EVM machine, some really important conclusions can come out, and good decisions can be made.
Well, it's tagging to that question, Mike, EVM dashboarding remains, I'm going to use the word riddle. I don't know what your opinion is, Amber, but it is not a one size, like not all EVM dashboards are built the same. So in your experience with these dashboards on, on things that you're piloting and you're working on, do those manufacturers, those contractors, is it like zeroed in where everybody has the same things on their dash? It seems like even on cars now, there's different things on the dash. Like what is like if you're on a Boeing spacecraft versus the Starliner, are you going to get different dashes? Or actually, do you
Yes,
get?
and I think for each project or program out there, there's a lot of things that are similar, but there's a lot of things that are different. So one dash, one cockpit doesn't fit all sizes. And some of my friends, they own Cessnas, and what's presented to them is a lot different than maybe what you get in your Boeing 787. But there's the similarity things, because there are some truths that we hold self-evident in flying. But you have your airspeed, you have to have your altitude, and I can imagine there are something that just about every dash on an EVM display would have, and that's where you are in your schedule and where you are in your budget and things like that. There's got to be some commonalities, but the important thing is that what's really nice in the modern world, we don't do it so much in aviation or flying, because everything has a big certification. That cockpit has to be certified in a certain configuration.
Mhm.
But for EVM, you have that flexibility to change it, to update it. Said, well, this dash isn't quite working for me. We're having some problems with manufacturing or quality control, so I'm going to make that bigger on my dash, so that that information becomes more prominent. So it's that flexibility, I imagine, in the EVM world can be really helpful.
I think that's true. I think that is a really nice analogy. I think also in the EVM world, it can be in the eye of the beholder. Like, the project manager can say, oh, please make I like the dials. I like to see the CPI and the SPI on a dial, and others want to see it on the bullseye, or they just want to see the trend charts. It's the same data, but they're visualizing it in more than one way. And so one size doesn't fit all, but that's interesting how those spacecraft work.
And it's all about building situational awareness. Where am I in space? Where am I, in the project? Where, how far is the program coming along? Where are some danger areas? Where are the places where things are going well? And whether it's a dash or a sliding bar or
Right.
glide depiction, it's building that situational awareness.
Yeah.
And with the situational awareness, it just jumped out at me. The moment I saw your presentation, the word situational awareness just spoke to me of a very important framework that Barbara and I are working on together within EVM called the IP2M meter. So it's the integrated program and project management, maturity and environment total risk rating framework. We've talked about quite some time, but one of the key components is it's actually looking at EVMS, the maturity that we all know and love, that you've had exposure to, Mike. But then it opens a new dimension, and it looks at the environment. And with the environment, we're looking at the culture, the leadership, the people, and all of the situational awareness around EVM and actually measuring it and ensuring that that's healthy too. Because situational awareness can be a skill that you want to cultivate, right, with your teams. Um, so, with that, I have a question that kind of leans into the leadership, the culture, the people. Um, and it's that one thing that strikes me about your career is that you have a huge arc that you've gone through. Astronaut, engineer, acquisition professional, ISS commander, and across all of these roles, you've seen incredibly talented people. People have been really wonderful that you've worked with. What have you learned about the differences between a group of brilliant individuals and then a team that actually develops that real situational awareness? How do you build that team?
Yeah, that's another art in the science. There are some things that along the way that you know that would probably work for most situations, but individual results always vary, right? But you can imagine, we've all seen it. We've been on a team where you have some of the really clever people. They know what they're doing, but they just seem to have a kind of uh, a, a, a tunnel vision because they're the best at what they do. They're the best at the quality assurance, or they're
Mm,
best at that, and they don't always. And for me, it was just funny being in a system program office. It's like, but very few people actually enjoyed seeing the big picture.
yeah.
I like the 20,000 foot view or the 50,000 foot view,
Yeah.
and that's what's really neat is that you can use tools like EVM brings out that you can help explain it to, hey, this is your part, and we really need you to have those great data, but this is how it feeds the rest of the system.
Mhm.
And these are what's important things, and these things are not as important to us. They may be important to you. We're not saying they're not important, but the program manager does not need to know all of that data, but the program manager really needs this conclusion that you really came up with. And expressing those with what is needed and commander's intent and being clear. We had a saying on aboard our crew aboard the space station of clarity is kindness.
Yes.
And
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
knowing what is expected, and how we can be clear to each other, and making sure that we take that extra second to explain things to the ground in a way that they could understand instead of just babbling. And then they said, I heard every word you said. I couldn't put them together. And that helps build everyone's, sorry to say it, situational
But
awareness.
but that idea that you just said, Mike, of people being able to say, "Hey, I've heard all your words, but I confess I actually couldn't put them together."
Mm.
That requires I was going to say mature culture. Sorry, Amber. What's the word? Anyway, in the environment section dimension of the IP2M meter, there's ratings for these factors and attributes, which I confess. Anyway, but but the question is, how do you have that? How can you assure that people are able to say, I really don't know what you're saying, versus bluffing, right? Because that's scary in your environment. You can't afford people to be rolling along going, oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's fine. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It'll all work out. You're at the wrong altitude, but whatever, you'll figure it out.
Don't
I
worry
mean,
your
that's
pretty head about
yeah. I
it.
mean, that you have a whole other risk posture, but what have you found about having having an environment, a culture that ensures people are able to be truthful?
Yeah. So being a former colonel, I think everything starts at the top.
Mm.
It's not exactly true, but you can definitely make an argument that um, the leader or the leaders really can set the tone, so that the more junior people who maybe some of them may be just starting, they need to know, it's like, if I bring something up, am I going to get yelled at? It's like,
Right.
hey, I just got a mortgage. I do not want to get fired, right? So there's the element of trust, and based a little bit perhaps on fear. And how do you approach the boss? How do you try not to get fired? All these things, right?
Yeah.
how do you give data so that it can be heard and appreciated? And I think a lot of it has to do with it's the leadership of saying, look, we're counting on truth. We want you to tell the truth, and if you're telling the if you see the facts, I need to hear that. And it's okay if it's something that's not good news. And so we're expecting and on board the International Space Station, or flying a Dragon or a Space Shuttle or a Soyuz, that you just call it like it is, even if it's not good news, and then from there you can deal with it. The other day, I was driving my family home in our family minivan, and we were on Highway 45. It had like 8 lanes on one direction, 8 lanes in the other one, and popped the tire.
Ah.
Just happened.
Yeah.
So, right, it's like, well, I couldn't lie my way out of that one. It's like, no, it's not really popped. No, the tire pressure indicator was going down, right? So we just said, all right, everyone, please make sure you're buckled in. We're going to have to get off the side of the road so that we can safely be safe. And it was just calm, cool, and collected. And that's how I think that, it's like, oops, something majorly went wrong in our program. All right, everybody, we're in this together. Calm, cool, and collected. Let's pull off to the side of the road, figure this out. And when you're in a community and a group and a team like that, especially with the leaders setting a good tone, then it's really hard to mess up. It's a joy, because everybody comes to work saying, yeah, I'm going to be able to contribute to this team. We're going to go make something good happen. And when the program and the project is done, and some, these government programs, they're tens of years even, but when you see it happen, you just feel really good about it. I never did a single thing on a program officially called Space-Based Infrared System, SBIRS. But I was standing there with Joe Raymond when at the Atlas V launch pad when they were launching. I just happened to be there, and it's like I felt extreme pride in the team. And that's the joy of being on a project too. We're makers, we're builders, we're doing things, and you can't do it without the information. You can't do it without situational awareness, and you have to tell the truth. And you be in a where you have to be able to speak the truth and not be afraid.
And I'm going to just pull it out because I think it's so important. You mentioned it, Mike, but when you presented, going back to that presentation, because it was pivotal in solidifying how wonderful you are in my mind, there was
you
a
need to
moment.
Get out more often.
No, I'm happy with my exposure. In that, there was a moment where you had like a list where one of your crews had written, like handwritten kind of rules for the team. And on there, and it was handwritten, and it was pretty quickly flashed, but I pulled it out. I had coworkers pull it out. You just said it, and it was so pivotal. And that is, clear is kind.
Yeah.
That is so important. How did your team adopt that?
Well, I think before we flew, we had NASA started a new thing, and they brought in some occupational psychology team. They're there to help us to understand how things are working, right? So we have a chance to just talk. And to be honest, I'm a cold, steely-eyed missile guy, and I don't want to go talk about feelings, but they brought us in and they just said, hey, look, we want your mission to be successful. You probably want your mission to be successful. And we're like, yeah, we'd like success. And they said, well, what does success mean to you?
Mm.
We had to think about it, and then we started out with nobody getting hurt, that kind of thing, and coming home safely to our families. Those are big things, but also things like, hey, you know what? I hope when we're done that we're still friends. Those kind of things. That's a mission thing. Or I want to really make sure I take some excellent photos this time, because one guy last time said, I took some good ones, but I want some better ones this time. And we said, all right, one of our goals as a team is to support each other, and your individual goals become a team goal. And one of my things that got into there was, hey, my earlier missions, we got along well with all of our international crew, including the Russians, and now it's hard to get along because of all the stuff that's happening here. But hey, we're one crew. Remember that. And that's those kind of things that we talked about, and then we wrote them down. But it started out with clear is kind, because well, that's just because I like saying clarity is kindness, but that's extra syllables.
You
That
do have
goes
to
down.
be pithy about these things, you know. Yeah.
So but it's really, I think it comes down to that. Is like as a commander, if I'm clear, I can express my commander's intent. Then everybody says, oh, that's I understand what they're saying. I understand what we're trying to do, or I understand it and I don't like it, but here's some feedback. And those kind of things are, by having clarity, that can make everyone's life easier and more efficient. And we've all had bosses that, you sit in a meeting and you say, all right, I don't know what they want. We sat and listened very carefully, but I still don't know what they want. What am I supposed to do with that? Go do good things. Yes, I want to do good things. That's a great pep talk, but how do we do that?
How do we do that? Yeah. Start with the leader. Yeah. I just wanted to comment also about the privilege of working at NASA, which is that, and other organizations I know, but because projects are king, right? Project managers are king, schedules are king, but that privilege of seeing a project end to end, where you're seeing like the fruit of your labor. And what they do at NASA, even when you're like a budget analyst or a resource analyst or a scheduler or something, everybody gets included. Everybody gets invited to the launch party. There is really an excellent dynamic there, recognition that all parties, contracting officers get invited, program executives that, are chains up get invited. It's to make people, feel that identity. And that makes people work harder. That makes people work, look for, well, we were just talking about clarity is kind, like to have all of that. And I think that EVM is in particular for projects, not for really for like O&M. It's for development, typically high risk, and things that have a start and an end. The PMI definition is a unique endeavor with a start and a finish date. And so these things are all tandem to each other about the importance of being part of a project, and being part of a crew, and being part of a team, and the strength that has. And it's just that in your line of work, it's just another level above what the rest of us face, I think, going to the office every day. But it's but it is related. It is the same. And people need to make their regular jobs the same, like have the same passion, have the same concern for their fellow teammate, have their, making sure that they're doing everything within their power to understand what the risks are and what the responsibilities are, and doing all of that. So
we very much agree. We talked a lot about having a joy in our work. Not every job at every minute of every day, even being, with my personal dream job of being an astronaut, not every day is it's an awesome
Me
day.
too.
Right? We all have these. We all have good days and bad days. What really makes a difference is when your friend, your teammate, your colleague, even your boss is having a bad day, that you kind of give them grace about it. And it's like, oh, I lost this big tool that counts everything. I actually lost a bag of payload equipment that was going to be needed in a couple weeks, and we couldn't find it anywhere in the space station. And I felt super embarrassed. And I actually had to, I confessed to my team earlier than later and just said, look, guys, I'm really sorry about this. I lost this bag of stuff. We're going to need it soon. I just can't find it. And this is all I know. And I'm really sorry. And I'm going to call the ground about it, but I just want to let you know that I didn't mean to do this. And they said, don't worry, it can happen to anybody. They made me feel better about it. Not that, it wasn't, it's like, well, we still had to go find it, but it wasn't all fixed. But having a teammate back you up and not call you stupid and silly, or just shake their head and think, well, that's the worst person ever because they lost $500,000 worth of science equipment aboard space station. And you know what? my friend San, he found it a few days later. And
Good.
everything was good again, right? And so
Yeah.
the happy ending, but he wouldn't have found it if I was still hiding it, or if I was still embarrassed to talk about it, or if I didn't trust my crewmates to have my back, and of course I have their back, and we didn't trust, and we talked to the ground about it, and all of a sudden it became I don't say it wasn't a horrible thing. It was almost a fun thing of, well, where can we find it, or what kind of tools do we have it? And we actually used an RFID, a radio frequency identifier thing on it, which everyone said would never work on space station. And Kimiya-san said, I hear you. I'm going to go try it. And beep, beep, beep. Oh, there it is.
Wow. That's really
yes.
cool.
So it all of a sudden becomes a happy story, instead of me being this silly idiot who lost the stuff, never told anybody, and I'm still embarrassed to buy it. And 2 years later, they found it in the bag that it got put in, and it's like, and it became because we had trust in each other, and that we also gave each other grace, and the ground gave us grace. They didn't shake their heads and say, this is the worst crew ever, because they can't find their stuff. These things happen. It's a big space station, and we have way overflowing with the abundance of hardware aboard space station. So having those, that ability to give each other grace, and give the rest of the team giving grace, helps contribute to the joy of being on the team, to be on the crew. And then when the project is done, the program is flying in space, or whatever its intention is, its end date came, then we all can share in the happiness too. And those are the things that people wake up in the morning and want to do, and are glad to drive their minivans into work and just say, hey, I'm not just getting my mortgage paid off, but I'm part of something that's really bigger than myself.
Amber, I'm going to do it. I'm going to ask him a hardball question.
But
Ready?
before one thing,
Okay.
before your hardball, I just want to say, I think that may be my favorite schedule slip story of all time. Schedule slip for equipment due to Lost in Space.
I've seen that movie. Oh, that's actually, well, we could ask a lot of astronauts could ask the question, what's your favorite space movie? But I'm not asking it. My hardball question is, well, you can answer that later. We can answer that later if you want. But my hardball question is, Amber, you're going to love this. It's Mike. It's a choice type. You have to say one or the other. There's no like, oh, some of this, some of that, or it depends, like the consultant answer. None of that. It's, do you live to work, or do you work to live?
I live to work.
A lot of people do, not just losers too. And you're not one. So there you go.
No, well, it's to me, I
Because you
find,
enjoy it, because you found something. Of course, you're having an amazing job,
but even when I was an acquisition specialist, just starting out, and not still doggy paddling in what, how do you do any kind of program management, it was a joy, and I enjoyed it because of the team I was with, and I believe
Yeah.
that we were actually making something. We were going to build something and take something that was an idea and make it. Now, in the program office, we didn't make anything. It was Lockheed or TRW. Back when we had a TRW, they were actually making it, but we were part of that team, and there is a joy in that. There is definitely, and that's why I felt that I lived to work.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
It's The Martian, by the way.
Oh,
That's what
interesting.
that's what we're doing, Barbara.
I know.
That's
I
our
know,
example.
I know.
So we're using a potato farm on Mars as an example in something we're developing. So that's from The Martian, right?
So
Yeah.
exactly. Where do you get your fertilizer?
Oh, I like it.
Oh,
my
that's
goodness.
scary.
Okay, I'm gonna segue onto your tough question and ask, because I genuinely think what I'm hearing is something that's really passionate. I have a passion for, and that is curiosity. Do you find that your joy to work in any environment where you've worked, that's tied to curiosity, and how do you foster that?
Oh my goodness, yes. I love learning new things. Even though I'm a really old guy now, I love learning new things. And it's a curiosity and finding new things that keeps me motivated. So yeah, I had to answer that previous question one way or the other, but it's there's more to it than that, right? And in the work I find answers to the things that I like to know. I'm learning new things. When I talk to school kids, I say you be good and study hard, right? And it's not, of course, studying hard is a good thing, but the reason to study hard is that the more things you know, the more opportunities you have, and the more chances that you're going to have, especially in this great country of ours. And so, and in order to do that, you need to be curious about the world around you, so that you can build up that situational awareness of where you are and the things that you are, and the cool things that you can learn. We have an amazing planet. Human beings are incredible, some more than others, but then in any case, there's so many cool things to learn, and the more things you learn, the more you can bring to your team, and the cooler projects you can make and be successful with. So yeah, curiosity is incredibly vital to that, and that you can take that all the way to your program and project management. Why is this way? Why is this number a little bit lower than I thought it was going to be? Some people say, yeah, that's the way it is. Data are the data, right? But on the other hand, you figure out, oh, it's this way because this one thing isn't working, or they're having a quality problem, or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, that curiosity led to something that could improve and make things better.
That is so good. That is actually the whole craft kit and caboodle right there. That's the purpose of earned value management, is learning from it and taking corrective action. It isn't to collect data. It's to
No.
collect data in order to do something with it, to use it. And it's neither good nor bad. It just is. And people, we've had a bunch of episodes on this, Amber, about people not wanting to be wrong.
Yeah.
Like we were saying earlier with you, Mike, about people not wanting to confess that, things weren't going the way they were hiding a truth or something like that because of whatever else is going on. But it's so important for the to move forward with it, in order to use it. You have to be forthright with it. So
Yeah, who
um,
likes to be wrong? Nobody. Although there's some people that are really good at being wrong.
I know some of them. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But on the other hand, nobody likes being wrong. But having the maturity just to admit it, that was hard for me. But I'm pretty good at it now. It's like, oh, but because I know that I don't want to be wrong, and my friends and my crewmates know that I didn't want to be wrong. So I guess I was wrong on that one. But now I know, and now let's go forward this way. And those and having the data that EVM can provide really can help us figure out, so that we're not really wrong at the end. So that we don't have a telescope that goes up and needs a new set of glasses. To pick on that old oldie but a goodie, right? The Hubble Space Telescope.
Oh my
Somebody was wrong, and we didn't, and either they didn't know it, or couldn't admit it, and then ultimately, though, we went and fixed it and made it right. But let's avoid those things, right? And EVM can help us.
Well, that one of the questions we did sort of think to ask you is, so space crews rehearse contingencies obsessively. True or false?
True.
How much of EVM's value is in the numbers themselves versus the discipline of thinking ahead, meaning risk, that's producing the numbers, that those required numbers? So, that's another parallel with the risk management, I think, because that's exactly what you're talking about. Even on a project, oh, we didn't think of that. Well, I've been on projects at NASA where anybody can come up with a risk. You're the scheduler or something, and like, hey, couldn't space debris hit that satellite that we're building here? And they go, no, it's got Kevlar. Oh, okay, I didn't know it had Kevlar. You know what I mean? Like, but somebody's thinking of something like that, and it can be that particular project. It could be anybody that who's on the team could come up with things, even if they're not a material scientist, or you're not. You can be varying skill sets and contribute outside what your targeted skill set is. And I think that really plays into the value of a varied team.
I think we talk about it a lot. We used this for the Apollo 1 fire, which was one of the most horrible days in NASA history in 1967. And it's because we used it with the words we used was a failure of imagination. We
Wow.
couldn't imagine that this could ever catch on fire, even though it was, 14
Full of
point something
oxygen.
full of oxygen under
Yeah.
high pressure,
Yeah.
but we couldn't imagine it. The things that I ran into along the way when we would ask, a company is building a new spacecraft, and we'd say, well, what if this happened? And they said they were like the guy on Fizzoni, I think his name was something like Vinsoni on Princess Bride. Inconceivable. I even had I even had his picture above my desk, just saying inconceivable, because that was it. We do need to ask these questions, especially in the business with things with human life. But even it's still the lesson is still very valid for any project that you're on. It's like, well, what if? What are the things that we can do to make sure if that were to happen? How do we characterize that risk as is it really inconceivable? What if the aliens came down and they had the red eggs instead of blue eggs, and they were full of lava? I mean, you can ask that question, but
The
that's
floor
probably
is lava. The floor is
yeah,
lava.
exactly. So we'll have lava boots. I don't know, but that's probably inconceivable. But when you say, "Hey, can a piece of space debris hit my spacecraft?" That's quite conceivable, and that stuff happens. So what are our metrics against it, right? And how do we prevent it, or what risk posture are we going to take to avoid it? And those are lots of great, smart questions to have, and we need to be open so that we don't have the failure of imagination. That's
I-
hurt us at NASA a lot, and it hurts other
yeah.
programs too.
I was going to ask a space fan question. When you were on the International Space Station, did you feel space debris ever hit the station, or did you ever see it fly by at 17,000 miles an hour outside your window? I'm imagining not.
Oh, so it's one of those things where we are very lucky because there are certain organizations on the ground that map. It's called space situational awareness. They map all the things that are up in space, and
But
if
all the things, can they map all the things, Mike?
here's the all is a very strong word. I admit that. There's the way we look at it. There's big things and small things. The
Okay.
things that are big enough to really hurt us, we can see them, and we move out of the way when they're coming. And so we have these things called um, um, pre-programmed debris avoidance.
Maneuvers?
Yes, or debris avoidance maneuvers, darns, not dams, because you can't say that. So we have these, and then the P is like programmed so programmed debris avoidance maneuvers, or PDAMs. We have those, and we use those more and more often as space becomes uh, crowded. The little stuff that we can't see, we have Kevlar. No, we have armor on the outside of space station. You can see it when you're on a spacewalk, and you see these little pock marks even on the handrails. You can look out the cupola window, and you can look at our big solar arrays, or our white radiators that radiate the heat that we generate inside space station, and you can see it looks like a char mark on it, that little, maybe a paint speck or something smaller than the size of a screw was going the other way than we were, and it hit our space station because it's a big space station. So yeah, space debris is something that's out there. We like to think that we're protected for the things that we need to be protected for. In other words, but somebody had to talk about the risk posture. Somebody had to talk about how do we make sure that the teams on the ground that may not be NASA can tell us, have good communication saying, hey, dudes, you got to move out of the way. Things like that. And then working with the Russians, because they're the only ones that have thrusters up there, to say, all right, how do we make this thing that we can hit the button and an hour later we're out of the way, or 2 hours, or whatever the time frame is. So that took a lot of work and a lot of imagination, as opposed to someone said, don't worry about it. It's inconceivable.
I was going to ask another question about do you think that the the International Space Station, this is a little bit, do you think in 2030 it'll come down? I mean, do you think that's on the horizon? What are they going to do with it? They're going to replace it? They're going to make a commercial version of it? Do you think it's going to happen? I mean, I guess it's one of those
Yes.
things you can put on
Uh,
one of those
uh,
betting sites. It seems like it doesn't seem like it's answered, but what's your opinion?
Well, I don't have to have an opinion because I fully support NASA's position on the subject.
Okay,
And I'm
what
not
is
just,
NASA's position
yeah,
on the
so
subject?
that's, and our administrator, he's really clear about this, is that hey, we're not going to ever have a time when we're not having Americans in space. And that's, we celebrated during the mission I was on. My mission was 25 years of continuous habitation of
Congratulations.
so there was always, for the past 25 years, there's always been a Russian and always been an American. And
Wow.
then other countries have come and gone, but we've had continuous presence. There are people out there who were born and who are in the workforce now that don't know a time when we didn't have people in space. We assume that's gonna, it's just an assumption. There's always been people in space. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty amazing. The International Space Station is wondrous that it has been able to do that. And not only that, but the time frame from which it was born, the end of the Cold War,
Yes.
United States people and former Soviet Union working together. Who would have thought? I mean, there was no way that I would have put on a betting site when I was 10 years old.
Betting site, yeah.
The launch off of Yuri Gagarin's launch pad twice, one more time than Yuri Gagarin ever launched. I mean,
Ooh.
the world just keeps changing, right?
Yeah.
So that said, is that before we get rid of the International Space Station, where NASA's putting a lot of effort and time working with industry for our industrial partners, or I guess just companies that go out and make their own space stations, and that they should hopefully we're working hard with them so that they would be economically viable. So there's companies out there like Fast and who else is there? Axiom and uh, Starlab. Those are three big players out there. There's more out there, perhaps. Everybody's looking at the orbital reef, and there's companies trying to say, all right, how do we make money in space? Because that's really when things are going to start going. So it's not just a government investment each year. It is people actively working on it, and then that'll spur industry to make even more efficient rockets, and more people go up into space. More great jobs for Americans. It'd be a big hit to our economy. I mean, a big boost to our economy. This is a really good vision. I like that vision a lot. When I was
I'm
aboard
excited. I
Space,
think
I was very impressed with all the different commercial partners we had. In other words, companies that were using the space station to make medicines and new materials. And a lot of times they wouldn't tell us too much about what it was. They would just say this drawer to that drawer, and we said yes, and we did our very best at it. But that's I'm really happy to see that there's a burgeoning space industry out there, and they're all going to need EVM. If they're going to make
Yes,
big
that's
space
what I was
stations.
going to say. They need
Okay,
EVM.
you were right. You were right.
Same wavelength. They build the efficiencies, even the commercial entities, right? I think EVM would still be applicable.
Yeah, they
definitely.
may have the same compliance questions, but a lot of those compliance questions were based on blood, sweat, and tears.
hmm hmm And basically, the premise of EVM is please make a plan and then measure yourself against the plan and incorporate all the systems in place, including risk. So, yeah.
And
be
if the
fun.
plan changes, change the plan. Run a change
a
request and
DPAM, a
document it.
PDAM, be a PDAM it.
Manure. All right. I'm gonna. I guess. What's the? It's another opinion question, but you're gonna give the official answer. But I think sometimes at NASA, in my experience, sometimes people there think that NASA is actually too risk averse when it comes to human spaceflight.
Mm.
That there's too much caution, too much money spent on evacuation, or that I know, like, you're a pilot and everything, where you can jump out of your seat and when your plane's not going the way it's supposed to. But for a shuttle or thing, I mean, they have those evacuation things. Do you think it's excessive, or
Yeah,
you don't have?
so
It's like an opinion question, because there's a lot
yeah,
of
no,
money goes to it. Now, every human life is a value, I know, but peace.
yeah, so it's funny, everyone has fun until someone gets hurt, kind of thing. And and sometimes on a project, whether it's human life or injury, which are horrible things, or even just saying, "Oh, I'll take that risk. It won't hurt anything." Well, it still can be really, I'll say devastating, but if the program gets canceled, that affects a lot of people's lives, right? The mortgage payment is a lot harder to pay when when the contract if you're a contractor working on this project and somebody messed up,
Yeah, no,
right?
there's ramifications. I get that. I get
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
of
so
course,
are
the
we
shuttle
risk averse?
accidents were
Yeah,
devastating to the space program.
yeah. Well,
Devastating.
those,
Yeah.
Columbia had my 7 of my friends on board,
Right. I'm
and
sorry to hear that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's that comes with
Wow.
it. So we
Yeah.
are, NASA is, I'm not saying risk adverse, but given the money that we have and the visibility, the little money that we have and the big visibility that we have to play, things a lot of safe. And it's really fun when, you have some billionaires out there that are just saying, yeah, we're just going so much faster than NASA. We're doing so much better because we can blow things up. And NASA say, yeah, we're not allowed to blow things up because people say we're wasting money, right? So there's somewhere in between, perhaps, where
Interesting
we
answer.
can run fast, but also keep things safe. And this is not a plug at all, but SpaceX does that very nicely. When we were flying with them, on the Dragon, they had a different thing that they were working on called Starship. Starship would blow up, and they would come in and say, "Look, we want to tell you that you're not flying on Starship. We are taking a lot of risk with that one. You're on Falcon and Dragon.
Right.
We very much are much less risk averse for that one." And they
Yeah.
were able to split it so that and they said, "Look, we know you know that, but when you go home and talk to your families tonight, you can say that just because they heard something on the news that SpaceX blew up, it wasn't the thing you're riding on. This is what you're riding on. We keep right down the middle of the runway. We don't take very much risk with it. These other things, we're taking a lot of risk with it because we want to run fast, but nobody gets hurt."
That's
Right.
great. I know we're getting close to our time. I have one question I want to ask you, kind of that fan question, kind of closing us off here, Mike. So when we saw you at EUG, you talked a little bit about yourself as a little boy, which hearing you speak and getting to know you a little, I've just imagined that little boy was very joyful and a wonderful child. So when you were a little boy dreaming about space, what would that little boy be most surprised to learn about the man who actually became an astronaut?
Whoa, new question. I've never been asked that one before. Great question.
Nice, Amber.
He's gonna be so happy that I got to become an astronaut and that dream came true. He's gonna say, "Why the heck did you not walk on the moon? Why aren't there people walking on the moon? Where's our moon base?" That would be
On
it.
to the
But
next.
we're working on it, right? We're working on it at NASA, is to have a moon base. But I think young me would have been just pretty impressed because, growing up in a Rust Belt, my dad was unemployed, 8 brothers and sisters, all younger. Times were tough, and yet, that optimism and that curiosity
Yeah.
took me forward. I'd like to blame it all on EVM, but I couldn't spell EVM back then. But it was the same principle, right? You collect data, you see how am I going towards my goal? What do I need to do next? And how's that working for me? Do I need to readjust the plan? Those same principles help me, and I'm very blessed and happy in my life to have a chance to get a NASA job, work at NASA, get a chance to fly in space, and along the way, I met a beautiful girl. We have a family. I couldn't be luckier.
You did it. You did it.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
a rock star. Wow. How inspiring. I think Amber and I couldn't be more pleased. And we loved you bringing it back to EVM when we weren't.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you for helping us, direct us back to the topic at hand. I mean, I think I got a little sideways. So yeah, no.
Well, we're
wow,
so excited to talk to
yeah.
you.
Wow.
To
We
an
can make
astronaut.
this like 10 episodes, Amber. We could just give them like 5 minutes at a time and
But I
draw it
think we're
out.
over, and we
Yeah,
want to
we
be
are.
respectful of his time. So thank
Yeah.
you very, very much, Mike. It was an honor.
Yeah.
It was,
So Mike,
it was
we will have little, well, okay, sorry. Go finish your thought because mine was
I'm
like
going
a.
to say it was an honor to be on, and thank you for helping me clarify, my thoughts. Approaching 30 years of being an astronaut. What did I learn? How can I explain it? How can I share it with folks? I was really glad that the conference, that a lot of what I'm feeling and thinking hit home. We had some more chance to talk about it today. What a cool thing, because we're on to something, kids.
Yeah, right.
I love it.
Definitely. So yeah, so we did write. So I was gonna just say that we will post like on LinkedIn. I know you're a big LinkedIn person. You're so good on LinkedIn. We have a web page, a group page, and we'll post, like a little short and stuff like that. So we're wondering. Normally, so far we've been doing just audio ones, but can we use your video for that or?
Uh, I personally think we can, but please talk with our team. Our team is
Sure.
giving a thumbs up.
Okay.
So yes, please do use our video. It helps
Okay.
tell the story.
All right. Amber,
Wonderful.
what else do you have to say?
I'm just overjoyed. I'm
I know,
pickled.
I
I'm
wish we were
flush.
together,
I'm
Amber.
excited. I'm so happy. It's so wonderful. Just beyond words. I'm in outer space right now. So thank you, Mike, very much.
You have furthered the field, honest to Pete. I mean, this is our passion project. You know that. This is a public, we think it's a public service. Whether people receive it that way, we don't know. But that is our idea. We just want to help the community. And that's why we do this with our own time, like Amber was saying at the beginning. So it's just a thrill to have somebody as famous as you contribute to it. And again, we thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do.
All right. So with
And
that,
that's it.
close.
That's it from
Let's
Let's
Talk
Talk
EVM.